So looking at 16 part C here, it says if f of x is 3, then x equals. So recall one thing here. Let's recall that f of x is really just a fancy way of saying y. So when they say f of x equals 3, they're really just saying, hey, y is 3. So it's kind of like this. 3 is the y coordinate. What is the x coordinate that goes with a y coordinate of 3? So looking at the graph here, we want the y coordinate to be 3. We know that the y-axis goes vertically. And we know that we want the y coordinate of 3. So go to the y-axis and go to 3. And then along this y coordinate of 3, where do we have any activity from the graph? We have activity here. And so what I do is I trace this point down to the x-axis, and it's not quite 3 and it's not quite 4. It's somewhere between 3 and 4, probably much closer to 3. It's not drawn to scale, or it's hard to see what the exact number is, but I'd say that that x value, let's call it like 3.1, maybe 3.2. You see what I'm saying? Usually they give you exact values, but if the y coordinate is 3, then the necessary x coordinate is about 3.2-ish, because at about 3.2, if I go up to the graph, the y coordinate, or f of x, is 3, which is what's required. For 16D, we want f of x to equal 0. So now we want f of x to equal 0. In other words, we want y to be 0. So I'm going to find all the points on this graph where the y coordinate is 0. So a y coordinate of 0 happens to be along the x-axis. So they essentially want you to give them the x coordinates of all the x-intercepts. Where here does the graph cross the x-axis? Right there, which we can sort of eyeball to be about negative 2.5. And then also here, which is labeled as the origin, so we'll just call it 0. And then also here at this location, that looks to be, honestly, that looks more like 2.6. It looks just like it's a little bit after the midpoint between 2 and 3. And so if f of x is 0, then the possible value or values of x are, I would propose that these are decent enough submissions. So I'm going to box this in and say that these are some acceptable answers.